Hi, my name is Barbara Klein, and this is my presentation regarding media content analysis of the Syrian refugee crisis. For my news source, I chose the Huffington Post. The Huffington Post is well known as a liberal media outlet that sides with the Democratic Party regarding politics and points to the shortcomings of the Republican Party. I focused on its articles as they were plentiful and wide-ranging in dates and topic. I read several articles on a variation of topics regarding the Syrian refugee crisis to get a feel for the tone and themes of the articles. The articles had much of the same content. They all portrayed Syrian refugees as innocent victims and casualties of war. This was in sharp contrast to right-wing portrayals in the media that refugees are possibly terrorists, that taking them in will inevitably lead to terrorist acts. There was a general tone of embracing Syrian refugees in the Huffington Post articles, as opposed to viewing them as a threat. Direct quotes seemed to be used to portray the refugees in a more favorable light, which the refugees are trying to escape harm and violence. The message that they are not involved with terrorist activities or mentally unstable was contrasted with the fact that they do suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder and are somewhat mentally unstable from what they've been exposed to. The tone and demeanor suggests that the U.S. is ignorant of the plight of the refugees, and this is the fault of the Republicans. Democrat senators are cast in a favorable light for requesting the U.S. take in more refugees. Next, I focused my research on Syrian refugee health. The return of articles was not impressive. There was one article on how refugees are not a health threat to U.S. citizens, and a few articles on the mental health of refugees being taken in camps and those had already been resettled. I chose to focus on two of these articles. Reviewing the articles for accuracy and impartiality was difficult. Given the magnitude of the crisis, it was difficult to tell what was impartial journalism and what was the media sensationalizing the story. When there is a war and mass genocide, it is hard to say a news outlet is exaggerating the situation. People are dying, children are dying, there's vast documentation of it, and the majority of Americans have not experienced murder, maiming, rape, or any of the other atrocities that refugees are currently experiencing. In spite of this, there was a distinct theme of violence and trauma. The illnesses focused on were all mental health issues. I chose to focus on these themes, highlighting in red the violent acts and highlighting the illnesses in yellow. The first article focused on the need for mental health care for all refugees, especially the ones awaiting resettlement in German refugee camps. The mental illness was a repercussion of the violence the refugees experienced, whether it was actual physical acts or the trauma of being forced to leave their home for their safety. The repetition of the violent referrals, as well as mental health issues, is evident across the article. The second article deals with refugees already present in the U.S. and suffering mental illness. This article, while dealing with the same issues and having the same themes, seemed to rely less on violence and mental illness and more what could be done to address the issues. Overall, the theme of the articles I read was very sympathetic to the plight of the refugees. There was a marked change in tone after the Paris attacks. The writings do seem more aggressive. There was a repeating of the phrase, rejecting refugees is what ISIS wants, in order to rouse support for ISIS attacking other countries. In reality, it's difficult to know what ISIS truly wants. To say ISIS wants countries to reject refugees to stir up American support is somewhat manipulative. One other small example is violence against Muslims is called shameful, and it is, but the fact that it is highlighted and written about since the attack adds more emotional weight to the story, and even choosing to cover how prevalent the acts against Muslims are denotes a shift in priority change. for news coverage. I feel that even with the news bias the Huffington Post exhibits, this type of media coverage has a significant place in the world. By choosing a definite side and presenting as many facts as you can to support that view, it sometimes causes those with opposing viewpoints to re-examine their stance, or at least be exposed to new information that they might not otherwise come across.